At 5:48 a.m. on November 12, 1944, the Hürtgen Forest was a cathedral of frozen gray mist. Inside a reinforced concrete pillbox overlooking the Kahl Trail, Oberleutnant Klaus von Richter adjusted his Zeiss binoculars. He felt a cold, professional sense of superiority. He was 400 yards behind the front line, protected by 2 feet of Krupp steel and the impenetrable shroud of the morning fog. He poured a cup of ersatz coffee, certain that no American rifleman could even see his slit, let alone thread a bullet through it. In the next 40 seconds, he would be dead. While von Richter enjoyed his false security, Private First Class Silas Thorne was shivering in a shallow, waterlogged ditch. He was covered in the black, oily mud of the Rhineland, his face pressed against the frozen earth. He wasn't looking through a standard-issue scope. He was staring into a jagged shard of silvered glass taped to a piece of scrap wood. What Thorne was doing would have been considered a violation of every standing order in the European theater of operations. This was a moment that flipped Army doctrine on its head, an act of battlefield heresy that was explicitly forbidden by high command right up until the moment it started saving lives. Before the draft board called his name, Silas Thorne didn't know much about ballistics, but he knew everything about light. He was a master glazier from the industrial heart of Pittsburgh, spending 10 hours a day in the heat of the glassworks. He understood the anatomy of a reflection. He knew how light bent through a curve, how a hairline fracture could distort a landscape, and how to calculate an angle of incidence by sheer instinct. When he enlisted in 1942, his instructors at Fort Benning were baffled. During marksman qualification, Thorne was caught dismantling a broken shaving mirror and trying to lash it to the receiver of his M1903 Springfield. The drill sergeants called it clownish. They saw a man who didn't want to put his head above the parapet. They didn't see a man who was learning how to turn a rifle into a periscope. They missed the potential of his unorthodox civilian logic, dismissing him as a coward who was too obsessed with scrap metal to follow the field manual. By November, the untouchable German position at the Kahl Trail had become a slaughterhouse. 3 German snipers, led by von Richter, had pinned down an entire battalion. Standard Army doctrine dictated a frontal assault with smoke concealment, but the smoke dissipated in the mountain wind and the men died in the mud. The cost of following the manual was written in blood. Corporal Leo Rossi, 21 years old from Brooklyn, died trying to rush a Steiner scout car. He left behind a 6-year-old daughter who would keep his last mud-stained letter in a shoebox for 60 years. Private Sam Miller, only 19 and from a quiet Ohio farm, was picked off while trying to relay a simple radio message. His mother would never open the college acceptance letter that arrived 2 days after the telegram from the War Department. The exhausted soldiers of the 28th Infantry begged for a different approach, but their commanding officer, Captain Sterling, a man with a pressed uniform and a West Point ring that caught the light, refused to listen. To Sterling, any deviation from the manual was undisciplined. He threatened Thorne with a court-martial the moment he saw the glazier tinkering with his broken mirror contraption. "You'll use the iron sights like a soldier," Sterling barked, "or you'll face a stockade." Thorne stayed silent, but his eyes were moving. He observed a tiny flaw the West Point strategists had missed: a 3-inch ventilation slot in a stone cellar 480 yards from the pillbox. From the ground, the angle was impossible, but if a man could fire from the bottom of a ditch, aiming upward through a series of reflective planes, the German invincibility vanished. He knew the rejection was final. He knew that to the Army, he was a technician, not a tactician. So Thorne went rogue. That night, in the freezing dark of a ruined barn, he worked in secret. With zero support and the threat of a prison sentence hanging over him, he used electrical tape, a splintered wooden crate, and 2 shards of a high-quality mirror salvaged from a bombed-out French estate. He was building a periscope sight, a device that allowed him to see and aim while his entire body remained 3 feet below the line of fire. It was a masterpiece of improvised engineering. The fog rolled in thick as wool. Thorne crawled into the ditch, the smell of fermented corn and rotting leaves filling his lungs. The mud sucked at his boots, a cold weight that threatened to pull him under. He didn't rise. He stayed low, nestled in the filth, and propped his Springfield against a rock. The distance, 480 yards. The angle, 14 degrees upward. Through the shards of glass, the world was a ghost-gray rectangle. He saw the flicker of a cigarette. That was von Richter. Thorne's breathing slowed. He factored in the 2-inch offset of his mirrors. He ignored the shivering of his limbs. He exhaled halfway, held, and squeezed. The Springfields picked. Von Richter collapsed before he heard the report. Thorne didn't pause. He cycled the bolt. The metallic clink was the only sound in the ditch. He adjusted 1/8 of an inch, squeezed. A second German sniper, Gefreiter Hans Weber, fell as he reached for his comrade. Thorne moved like a machine. For 2 hours, he remained invisible. He dropped 12 men. Each shot was a feat of geometry. Each impact was a testament to civilian ingenuity overcoming a rigid military machine. By the time the fog lifted, the Devil's Chimney was silent. The immediate result was undeniable. An entire company moved forward without losing a single man. The German stranglehold on the trail was broken. Eventually, the Army intelligence officers caught wind of the broken mirror's success. They took Thorne's device, studied it, and later integrated periscope-style sighting into official reconnaissance doctrine. But they never gave Silas Thorne the credit. There were no medals for unauthorized modifications. His name was never etched into the patents for the optics that would later save thousands of lives in the Korean hills. When the war ended, Thorne didn't ask for recognition. He didn't write a memoir or give interviews to the papers. He returned to the gray skies of Pittsburgh. He went back to the glass factory, back to the heat of the kilns and the quiet precision of his craft. He had windows to install. He had a life to rebuild. To the world, he was just another face in the crowd. But in the silence of the Hürtgen Forest, 12 empty casings remained in the mud, a tribute to the man who saw what the generals couldn't. If you found this story compelling, please like this video. Subscribe to stay connected with these untold histories.